Being a long-haul truck driver is often romanticized as a life of total freedom on the open road, but the reality is far more isolating. It means spending countless, exhausting hours traversing endless miles of empty, unpredictable highways. It means driving an 80,000-pound machine through the dead of night with nothing but your headlights piercing through the pitch-black darkness. Most trips are quiet, but sometimes, out there in the absolute middle of nowhere, the isolation turns into a trap. You quickly realize that you're completely alone and help is hours away. What you are about to see is not from a horror movie. It is entirely real, captured raw and unfiltered. From terrifying highway hijackings by organized groups to unexplainable and deeply disturbing encounters with absolute strangers. These are 6 of the most terrifying things ever caught on trucker dashcam footage. Before we begin this journey, make sure your doors are locked and you're not watching this alone in the dark. Story 1. The Highway Stalker. Our first piece of footage takes us back to a cold day in February of 2015. 2 truckers were making what seemed to be a completely routine, mundane run down a multi-lane interstate. The weather was clear, the traffic was light, and everything seemed fine, but out of nowhere, the situation takes a deeply unnerving turn. The glaring headlights of a white pickup truck rapidly approach them from behind. The driver of the pickup violently swerves into their lane, aggressively cutting them off. And then he slams on the brakes. He forces a massive, fully loaded semi-truck to come to a screeching dead halt right in the middle of a live highway. At first, the truckers were just confused. They thought maybe something was dangerously wrong with their rig, perhaps a massive leak or a broken taillight that the driver was trying to warn them about. So they cautiously pulled over to the shoulder to see what the problem was. But the man in the white truck didn't get out to help. He didn't wave them down. Instead, he began a slow, predatory circle around their semi. He menacingly stopped right next to their cab window, just sitting there, staring into their souls. He even intentionally positioned his truck to block oncoming traffic, sealing them in.
Does he think you cut him off or something? See, what's his tag? I can't see his tag.
Pure, unadulterated fear set in. You can hear the panic in their voices. They were completely trapped in their cab. Convinced the man might be reaching for a weapon, the truckers decided they needed to get out of there immediately. But every single time they tried to pull forward, the deranged driver in the white pickup violently slammed his foot on the gas, aggressively cutting them off again. He was playing a sick, twisted game of cat and mouse. They attempted to slowly back up just to get an angle to read his license plate, but the numbers were blurry and unreadable. In a desperate final move, they punched the gas, risking a collision just to escape. As they finally managed to pull away, the driver in the white pickup lost all control of his rage and violently rammed his vehicle straight into the back of their heavy trailer. It was a clear attempt to cause a massive wreck. Miraculously, the truckers kept driving, pushing through the impact, and eventually lost their terrifying pursuer. They pulled over miles down the road, hearts pounding out of their chests, and called the police. Authorities eventually tracked the white truck down and arrested the driver, later stating he was suffering from a severe psychological breakdown. Had the truckers stepped out of their cab that night to check their tires, this story could have easily ended in a brutal, irreversible tragedy. Story 2. The Calais Ambush. Now we travel to the desolate, fog-covered roads of Calais, France. The date is July 29th, 2016, and the time is just past 5 o'clock a.m. The sun hasn't even begun to rise, and the highways are eerily empty. The driver of this truck is heading towards the port, planning to cross the English Channel into the UK. The journey is quiet, the steady hum of the engine being the only sound. But suddenly, the tail lights of the truck directly in front of them light up bright red. It violently slams on its brakes in the middle of nowhere. The driver with the dash cam instantly lays on his horn, bracing for an impact, but then the real nightmare reveals itself. In the pitch darkness, illuminated only by the headlights, terrifying figures emerge from the shadows. Multiple men, wielding heavy flashlights, swarm the highway like a pack of wolves. They begin violently hurling massive rocks at the windshield, trying to shatter the glass and blind the driver. The driver is faced with a terrifying split-second decision. Stop and face an angry mob or keep moving. He chooses to survive. He hits the gas and smashes straight through massive makeshift roadblocks constructed out of heavy tree branches and debris. This wasn't a random act of highway vandalism. These men were part of a highly desperate, incredibly organized smuggling gang. They use these violent, terror-inducing tactics to force cargo trucks to stop dead in their tracks. Once a truck is immobilized, the mob swarms the cab, using blunt weapons and absolute terror to threaten the drivers into smuggling them across the highly secured border. What makes this footage so chilling is the realization of how common this is. These terrifying hijacking attempts happen frequently in this specific area, almost exclusively under the cover of darkness, between midnight and 6 a.m. If you see shadows moving on the road ahead, whatever you do, do not hit the brakes. Slowing down could cost you everything. Story 3. The Wrath of Ida. Human beings are terrifying, but absolutely nothing compares to the merciless, uncontrollable wrath of Mother Nature. In 2021, Hurricane Ida unleashed a level of unparalleled destruction across the United States that most people cannot even fathom. As the Category 4 storm tore through the southern states and violently pushed its way north, the massive atmospheric pressure spawned deadly, unpredictable tornadoes right along its path. A trucker, making what he thought was a manageable drive through Pennsylvania, found himself driving directly into the crosshairs of one of these monster twisters. The Dashcam captures the eerie calm before the storm. The driver comes to a halt at a standard traffic light. The wipers are going, the rain is heavy. Though the light turns green, his gut instinct screams at him to stay put. He can feel the immense pressure dropping. Within seconds, the wind violently escalates from a heavy gust to a deafening roar. The sky goes completely gray, swallowing all the light. Visibility drops to absolute zero. You can see massive, heavy-duty power lines alongside the road violently snapping like fragile twisted twigs under the sheer force of the wind. The tornado grips the multi-ton rig, violently shaking it as if it were a child's toy. The terrifying sounds of twisted metal and howling winds fill the cab until the pressure becomes too much. The entire 80,000-pound semi is effortlessly blown off the ground and slammed onto its side. The impact dislodges the dash cam, which falls to the floor, capturing a deeply unsettling angle of the driver suspended in midair, his life saved only by his tightly fastened seatbelt. He is completely trapped inside a steel cage while a tornado rips the world apart outside. But then, an incredible act of human bravery occurs. A passing van driver, witnessing the disaster, stops his vehicle, runs directly into the chaotic, deadly winds, and manages to pull the trapped trucker out of the shattered windshield. They sprint through the flying debris and barely make it to a nearby concrete building for cover. Miraculously, despite his massive truck being completely destroyed, the driver walked away with only minor injuries. Story 4. Trucker Justice. If you spend enough time driving, you learn very quickly that there is an unwritten, deeply respected rule on the road. You do not mess with a trucker's brotherhood. They look out for their own. This incredibly intense dashcam footage from the desolate highways of Russia captures exactly why that rule exists. A driver had pulled his massive rig over onto the muddy shoulder of the road to change a completely busted tire. It's hard, dirty work, and it leaves you entirely vulnerable. While he was working, he noticed something deeply unsettling. A highly suspicious car was repeatedly circling his location, slowing down and staring him down before speeding off, only to return minutes later. Sensing extreme immediate danger, the trucker casually but quickly walks back to his cab. He doesn't panic, but he arms himself with a heavy, solid steel pipe. Finally, the suspicious car stops right in front of his truck. 3 ruthless-looking bandits step out, strutting over to the driver with absolute confidence. They attempt to extort him, aggressively demanding a large cash payment for quote-unquote crossing their territory.
The tornado watch remains in effect until 10 p.m. for southeastern Pennsylvania. Repeating, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for the following counties in Pennsylvania, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia. At 3:15 p.m. Wednesday, the stage was 6.4 feet. Moderate flooding is forecast. The river is expected to rise above flood stage light this evening to a crest of 14.8 feet to now. Several driveways and other minor roadways are affected. Water begins to enter some basements. Impact at 2.0 feet. High water isolates 7 houses, resulting in some evacuation.
But they messed with the wrong guy. Instead of giving in to their threats, the driver swiftly locks his doors, grabs his CB radio, and broadcasts a distress call to anyone on his frequency. The bandits just stood there, thinking they had an isolated, easy target who was just too scared to come out. They were dead wrong. Within exactly 5 minutes, the horizon begins to fill with the massive silhouettes of semi-trucks. They start swarming the area from all directions. Realizing he now has an absolute army of heavy-duty machines behind him, the driver steps out of his cab, tightly gripping his steel pipe. The bandits suddenly realize they are severely outnumbered. They panic and attempt to sprint back to their car to flee, but almost 20 massive trucks have completely blockaded the highway. There is no escape. The truckers weren't just going to let them walk away to victimize someone else. In a stunning, brutal display of absolute road justice, the massive mob of drivers surrounds the vehicle, and with sheer collective strength, they completely flip the bandits' car upside down. They leave it wrecked and utterly useless on the side of the highway, before climbing back into their rigs and collectively driving off into the night, leaving the terrified bandits stranded in the dirt. Story 5. The Phantom Tree. When you are driving a machine that weighs as much as a commercial airplane, your reaction time is everything. But some road hazards give you absolutely zero warning. On the freezing night of October 29, 2013, a Russian trucker was hauling a massive, incredibly heavy load through the dead of night. Highway hypnosis is a real and dangerous thing. You stare at the endless pavement for so long that your brain goes on autopilot. The highway is completely terrifyingly pitch black, illuminated only by the short reach of his high beams. Everything seems incredibly peaceful. The road is clear. But then, the absolute unthinkable happens in the blink of an eye. Without a single second to react, an absolutely massive towering tree violently snaps from the tree line and crashes directly into the truck's immediate path. At full highway speeds, slamming the brakes was entirely useless. The momentum of the heavy trailer would have crushed the cab instantly. In that terrifying fraction of a second, the driver makes a brilliant, lightning-fast maneuver. He slightly swerves the wheel, just enough to avoid a catastrophic fatal head-on collision, but carefully enough to keep the massive, heavy rig from violently jackknifing and rolling over. Thanks to his razor-sharp reflexes and years of experience, he survived the terrifying impact. The truck sustained damage to the front grille, but the driver lived to tell the tale of the phantom tree that nearly took his life. Story 6. The Highway Robber. Our final piece of footage is a chilling reminder of how quickly things can go wrong when you let your guard down. For a trucker, their cab is their home, their office, and their sanctuary. Leaving it unlocked for even a single second can be a massive, unforgivable mistake. In this footage, a trucker is parked on the dusty shoulder of a relatively quiet road, likely outside inspecting his rig or checking his cargo ties. From out of nowhere, a sleek silver car slowly pulls up and stops directly in front of the massive semi. The driver's intentions are immediately clear. A man steps out of the passenger side. He creeps up to the truck, peers inside the window, and realizes he has hit the jackpot. The driver's side door is wide open. Acting with terrifying speed, he slips into the driver's seat and frantically begins rummaging through the trucker's personal belongings. He spots a black bag, grabs it, and makes a dead sprint back to his getaway car. But he wasn't fast enough. The trucker spots him from the back of the trailer. A wild, adrenaline-fueled chase ensues as the heavy-set trucker sprints after the thief with everything he has. Just as the getaway car starts to speed off, kicking up dirt and gravel, the trucker miraculously manages to reach the passenger window. Panicking at the sight of the furious driver right beside him, the terrified thief violently throws the stolen bag out of the window onto the ground. The car instantly speeds off, disappearing into the distance. The trucker successfully reclaimed his belongings, breathing heavily but victorious. However, because the dash cam couldn't clearly capture the fast-moving license plate, the thieves completely vanished like ghosts in the wind, free to stalk the highways for their next victim. The open road has always been a symbol of breathtaking freedom and endless possibilities, but as these dash cams so clearly prove, when the sun goes down and the isolation sets in, the highway can instantly transform into a terrifying, unpredictable nightmare. From severe weather that can toss an 80,000-pound truck like a toy to the dark, malicious intentions of the people who wander the asphalt, truckers face dangers that most of us will never even see. Which of these terrifying encounters shook you the most? Could you imagine being trapped in your cab while a stranger circled you in the dark? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to dive deeper into the chilling, unexplained, and completely true footage caught on camera, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a journey into the dark. Stay extremely safe out there, keep your eyes on the road, and always keep your doors locked. We'll see you in the next one.